You thought they were judging your dance. What if they were auditioning your entire life? Every dream has a price. Let's find out what this one costs. This is part 4 of our detective investigation into America's sweethearts, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. The episode is called American Darling. On the surface, this is makeover day. Hair takes center stage. Makeup takes center stage. The girls learn something called hairography. The veteran candidates begin talking about the growing pressure of social media. Old TikToks, old photos, Reddit, public opinion. At first glance, it almost feels like a break from dancing. It isn't. This episode quietly reveals that the audition has become much bigger than choreography. They're no longer evaluating what these young women can do. They're evaluating who can carry the image. The provocative question for today's investigation is this. You thought they were judging your dance. What if they were auditioning your entire life? Now, let's start from the beginning. Emily gets called into the office. Kelly and Judy don't tell her she can't dance. In fact, they tell her she's technically one of the stronger dancers. So what's the problem? When she makes a mistake, she shuts down. Think about that. They're not judging the mistake. They're judging what happens after the mistake. Can she recover? Can she keep performing? Can she smile through uncertainty? Can she stay present when everything inside her wants to panic? Recovery has become part of the audition. Then the cuts begin. Everything changes. Before the first cut, everybody is chasing the dream. After the first cut, everybody realizes the dream can disappear tonight. That's when something subtle happens. Some of the girls stop dancing. They're still moving. They're still hitting choreography. But mentally, they've started thinking about dancing instead of simply dancing. You can see it with Savannah. Kelly even says she was stronger earlier in training camp. Now she's rushing. Now she's flustering herself. That word matters. Flustering herself. Nobody else climbed inside her mind. She did. The closer the dream got, the more her attention moved away from dancing and onto whether she was doing enough to deserve the dream. How many times have we done exactly that? We stop living because we're busy evaluating ourselves while we're living. We stop speaking because we're grading every sentence before it leaves our mouth. We stop dancing because we're thinking about dancing. Then comes makeover day. Most people see hair. The detective sees evidence. Why is everybody suddenly talking about hair? Why does it matter so much? Then they tell us. Hair is part of the choreography. Hair becomes movement. Hair becomes projection. Hair becomes performance. Then they introduce a word I'd never heard before. Hairography. Think about that. Not choreography. Hairography. Now your hair has responsibilities. Whip it. Move it. Keep it out of your face. Don't let it hide your expression. Don't become a victim of your own hair. That line is colder than it first sounds. You become a victim of anything you stop directing. Then it hit me. They're using every part of the performer. You ever heard somebody say they're using every part of the pig? Nothing gets wasted. That's this episode. They're using every part of the body. The smile, the posture, the confidence, the recovery, the eyes, the hair. Nothing is accidental anymore. Then makeup enters the picture. Soft, dreamy, American sweetheart, rosy cheeks, sweetheart lips, Bambi eyes. One former director quietly gives away the whole episode. She says these women have to be developed for our purposes. There it is. Developed for our purposes. Not discovered. Developed. That's the difference. Then I started noticing something else. Nobody gets to negotiate the standard. One girl doesn't want to cut her hair. Another hopes they don't change her color. Another says she doesn't play about her hair. Savannah likes the strawberry blonde. But listen carefully to what she keeps saying. I like it. I just hope Kelly likes it. Did you catch that? She can't completely decide how she feels until she finds out how Kelly feels. Now, inside the DCC, that makes sense. Kelly is responsible for protecting the image of the organization. If you decide you want to become part of that organization, you don't get to rewrite its standards. That's the agreement. Nobody is forced to become a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. That choice belongs to every candidate. But once you decide you want to belong, you don't get to say, I'll take the uniform, but not the makeover. I'll take the choreography, but not the hairography. I'll take the spotlight, but not the scrutiny. I'll take the dream, but not the discipline. That dog doesn't hunt in this environment. It's all or nothing. And that made me think about something much bigger. How much of our lives do we outsource? How often do we wait for someone else's approval before we allow ourselves to enjoy our own experience? I like it, but what do they think? I feel good about it unless somebody important disagrees. Notice what just happened. The authority moved from within to without. Now someone else's opinion becomes the final vote on your own experience. Organizations can decide who represents their organization. Judges can decide who makes the team. But nobody can decide what you are. Nobody can decide your worth. That decision cannot be outsourced. Then the episode gets even deeper. Social media enters the room. Old TikToks, old pictures, Reddit, screenshots. Things people thought had disappeared years ago suddenly become part of today's audition. One candidate says she didn't even post the picture herself. It didn't matter. Someone captured it. Someone saved it. Someone sent it to the judges. Now the past is sitting in the interview. Think about that. Your past can show up before you do. Then Savannah gets released. She says she's wanted this since she was 5 years old. She gave everything she had. She practiced. She sacrificed. She learned the routines. She accepted the corrections. She showed up every day. And she still didn't make the team. Now here's the question almost nobody wants to ask. What happens when you do everything right and you still don't get picked? How do you reconcile that? Seriously, how do you make peace with giving your absolute best and hearing no? Because that's not just Savannah. Look around the room. Those other young women gave everything too. They sacrificed too. They cried too. They dreamed too. Several of them still walked out the door. We've all been taught the same equation. Work hard enough and you'll get the reward. Sacrifice enough and you'll get the prize. Deserve it enough and life will eventually hand it to you. This episode quietly destroys that equation. Sometimes you can do everything right and life still says no. Then another question appears. One girl asks if she should come back next year. Another asks the same thing. One is encouraged. Another isn't given the same answer. Why? Because the organization is making decisions about who fits the organization. That is different from deciding someone's value. Then I started wondering about Savannah. Let's imagine she had made the team. Would that have been the end? Of course not. Then it becomes making the team again next year. Then making show group. Then becoming a group leader. Then staying on the team. Then figuring out what comes after DCC. There is always another mountain. Always another finish line. Always another achievement waiting to promise what the last achievement promised. Peace. Enoughness. Completion. Rest. The mind keeps moving the finish line. That's why the sentence that stayed with me wasn't about dancing. It wasn't about hair. It wasn't about makeup. It was when Savannah said, "I just wanted to be enough." There it is. Not, "I wanted better choreography." Not, "I wanted cleaner kicks." I just wanted to be enough. That may be the real audition all of us are living. How many places have we asked the world to decide whether we're enough? How many places have we handed that decision to coaches, judges, employers, relationships, followers, applause, or strangers on the internet? The organization gets to decide who wears the uniform. It does not get to decide who you are. That decision belongs somewhere no judge can reach. That brings us back to the title. You thought they were judging your dance. What if they were auditioning your entire life? Because by the end of American Darling, that's exactly what it feels like. Not just your choreography, your hair, your posture, your confidence, your recovery, your social media, your history, your coachability, your professionalism, your willingness to accept the standard. They're using every part of the performer. That concludes part 4. In part 5, Strong and Wrong, 5 more cuts remain. The time for maybe is over. Kelly and Judy seek a third opinion. Later, group leaders are chosen, and the final lineup begins to take shape. The investigation continues.